Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. This is Abhishek Mamedi. In this video, we will discuss how to set up PySpark environment in Google Colab. Here are the contents of this video. We will see what is Google Colab if you are new to Google Colab, and then what are the installation steps to set up PySpark environment in Google Colab. And then we also deep dive into the history of entry points to Spark application. So how to start a Spark application. We also see the differences between Spark context, SQL context, and Spark session, etc. And then we initialize Spark session and read data from Google Colab. Awesome. Let's get started, guys. So Google Colab is similar to Jupyter Notebook that requires no setup at all. And in addition to that, it also provides computing resources, including GPUs. And you know what? This is completely for free. Let me show you the resources that it provides for by default. It provides almost 13 GB of RAM and approximately 100 GB of disk space, and this is completely for free. So let's not waste these resources and use these resources efficiently. If you're new, you just need a Gmail account to code, and you can use this link to open any IPython file notebook using Google Colab. Let's say, these are the recent files that I have opened. And if you want to open any existing examples, you can go to examples. Let's say you have any IPython notebooks uploaded on Google Drive, you can directly open from Google Drive, and you can link GitHub as well. If you have a IPython notebook on your computer, then you can upload that file here as well. And using these different options, you can upload your IPython notebook on Google Colab and use the resources that they are giving for free. Let's go to the installation process. Let's discuss the steps first, and then we will see how to install them using code. The first thing is we have to install OpenJDK because Spark is written in Scala and it runs on Java Virtual Machine. So to install Java Virtual Machine, we have to install OpenJDK, and Java Virtual Machine comes with OpenJDK. And OpenJDK is a free and open source implementation of the Java platform. So Google Colab automatically, by default, provides OpenJDK Java 11 version, but Spark has some incompatibility issues with Java 11. So that's why let's install OpenJDK Java version 8. And then we also install some of the required Python libraries like FindSpark and PySpark. And then we add environment variables. At the end, we also start PySpark session once we set up the whole environment and load data using PySpark session into this notebook. Let's print the current working directory paths. Let me just run this. So pwd will give you the current working directory. Currently we are at /content. If you click on these files here, we will know what are the folders that we have in the current working directory. And if you just do ls command, which lists all the files and folders, we are getting ignore this folder and sample data. These are the files that we have in this folder, which is at /content. The sample data is by default provided by the Google Colab, where they have uploaded a few datasets like California housing dataset and MNAST datasets. And ignore folder is something which I have created, so you can ignore that. And also, if you see the OpenJDK versions that are present in Google Colab, so we have Java 11 and also Java 8. Java 8 is something which I have downloaded, but Java 11 is provided by default. Let's see how we can install Java 8. You can install using apt-get install. Let's run this command. This will download this file and install Java 8. This is done, guys. Let's see if we have Java 8 or not. So we have Java 8 OpenJDK. Awesome. Now the next step is let's install Apache Spark binary. We can use wget command to download any files. So I am using wget command. Let's go to this path. I have already opened downloads.apache.org, where we can see all the list of different versions that are available. So currently we have Spark 2.4.7, 3.0.2 and 3.1.1. So let's go to 3.0.2. We will have a list of binaries, different binaries with Hadoop version 2.7 and Hadoop version 3.2. So currently I have copied the link of this 3.0.2 binary and with Hadoop version as 2.7. I have copied the link already, and I am trying to download this and then unzipping the file. Let me run this. Once we run this, you will be able to see extra files and folders here that we have downloaded and unzipped. Let's wait for it to complete. I think it has completed. Let's refresh this. Yeah, now we are able to see the zip file that we have downloaded and it has unzipped it. If we go into the folder, we have different folders like R, Python, etc. If we click on Python, we have PySpark and some run tests. And if we go into PySpark, we will have ML, MLlib, Python, SQL, streaming. So these are all the different files that are required. Awesome. Now we have downloaded Spark binary and we have unzipped as well. Once we have done that, let's install the necessary libraries that I have talked about. So those are FindSpark and PySpark. Using this FindSpark, it adds PySpark to system.path at runtime, and using this we can easily use PySpark library. Let's install this. Currently our system doesn't know where this Spark is. Let's see if our system can identify where this Spark is. And it's throwing an error. What it's saying is couldn't find Spark. Make sure Spark environment is set or Spark is in an expected location. Awesome. So what it's suggesting is add the path to the environment variables. So this is how we can add, and this is the one which we have downloaded, and we are adding Java home as an environment variable. We're also adding Spark home as an environment variable with this path. This is also something which we have downloaded, and this is where it is /content and Spark 3.0.2 bin Hadoop 2.7. We have also given this folder path and added to the environment variables. Let's run this. Now this FindSpark should not give any error because our system should be able to find Spark. And I have given the full code for your reference, and we will be using this shell for setting up the environment in our future videos as well. You can keep this code handy, and I will also provide the link to this GitHub notebook in the description below. You can refer to that. Now we have completed installing all the requirements. Let's see how we can initialize Spark session. But before going to that, let's understand how it works. Every Spark application needs an entry point, which is Spark context, to coordinate tasks, do operations, so reading data, writing data, and access other Spark features, etc. So to do all these things, we need an entry point, and which is known as Spark context. Initializing Spark context has been changing from one version to another version. Let's see how it has changed. In Spark 1.x, it used to provide 3 entry points, which are Spark context, SQL context, and high context. If we want to use features of these, we have to initialize these entry points separately. But what they have done is, this is very confusing for the new users. In Spark 2.x, it provides a new entry point, which is Spark session, which is a combination of Spark context, SQL context, and Hive context. And all of these can be accessed using this Spark session object, which is really awesome. Now let's deep dive into what is Spark context and how to initialize it. And of course, even though they provide Spark session, they also support, the Spark 2.x supports Spark context, SQL context, and Hive context, and we can separately initialize those contexts as well. So let's understand what are these and what they do. So Spark context is mainly used by the driver process of the Spark application here in order to establish a communication with the cluster manager and to manage all the resources. This is the responsibility of the Spark context. To initialize Spark context, we can import Spark context and Spark conf. Using Spark configuration, we can add all the configurations that we want, and then we can pass to Spark context. And using this SC, we can do all the operations like reading, writing data, etc. This is what we used to do in Spark 1.x because we don't have Spark session. Similarly, for SQL context, we have to add one more line. We have to import SQL context and initialize SQL context in this way. And this SQL context is the entry point to Spark SQL, which is a Spark module for structured data preprocessing. Once this SQL context is initialized, user can use all the SQL-like operations over data frames. If you want to do any operations over data frame, you can directly use this SQL context. But now, using Spark session, we can initialize at the same time and use all of them using Spark session object, which avoids confusion. So for initializing Spark session, we just have to do from PySpark.sql import Spark session. We can do Spark session.builder.get or create, and we are also initializing what's the master. Currently we are using local because we don't have any distributed setup. That's why we are going with local, and we are also giving a app name as hands-on PySpark on Google Colab. And this is how we initialize the Spark session object. Let's see how we can do it. So this is the same code as this. Let me run this. This will initialize the Spark session object. You can also access Spark context using this Spark session object. Now let's load data using this Spark session object. Let's see the current directories that we have. So we have sample data as I discussed. We have some dummy data in sample data that is already provided by the Google Colab. We have California dataset and MNIST. Let's use California dataset for reading. Let's copy this path and paste it. So we will get the same path that I have copy pasted here. Let's do it. Yeah, it's pretty simple. You can use this Spark session object and do .read. It supports different formats like CSV, Parquet, JSON, and many other formats. You can pass the specific format that we are using. Currently we are reading CSV file, and then you can pass the path. This will load the data. Let's run this. It ran. So to see the top 5 rows, we can use .show function. Let's run this command, and using this we are able to load the data and see the data. We have the column names as C0, C1, C2, etc. Currently it's reading column names as rows itself, so that's why I think we can pass one more option called header equal to true, so that it will read first row as the header. Let's run this. We can pass a lot of options based on how we are reading and how the data set is. So we will see one by one option based on the data set which we use in the later videos. So if you see here, we are able to read these column names as headers. Now this is the feature name, longitude, and we have the data points. Let's print the schema of this data frame using print schema. Currently all of them are strings, but if we see the data frame, they doesn't look like strings. So these are all float, right? That's why we can pass one more option called infer schema equal to true. So what this does is when you are reading data using Spark, it will automatically infer schema. If you have a large data set, so it will read only a top sample 5 to 6 rows of data, and then it will infer the schema using those 5 to 6 rows, and then it will assign the schema for the whole data frame. If you see here, if you see the updated schema using which we have printed using print schema, it's giving us the output as double, which is right. Instead of string, we are getting as double. Using infer schema equal to true, we are able to infer the schema automatically using while reading the dataset. If you want to see the number of rows in the data frame, you can use .count, which is an action command. Let's run this. Currently we have the data in sample data which was automatically provided by the Google Colab, but let's say if you want to upload a new data set and use it, or you have uploaded on the Google Drive, so you can use these two commands to connect Google Drive and directly use that file path to read data on Google Colab. You can directly run these two commands. I will also share this notebook. You can make use of this code, and you can go to this URL and they will give you an authorization code, and you can paste it here. Once you get the authorization, you can copy the path of that folder or the file name, and then you can paste it here. You can replace that file path with this. If it is a CSV, you can keep it as CSV. If it is an other format like Parquet or so, you can update the format as well and change the options accordingly. Awesome. That's the end of this video, guys. In this video, we have seen how to set up PySpark environment in Google Colab and the history of entry points, how one of these has evolved, especially Spark session, and what are the difference between these entry points, and then how to initialize Spark session and also read data using Spark session object and load it into Google Colab. I also provided some of the references here. You can go through this if you want to deep dive into each one of these. And thank you so much, guys. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And if you are on LinkedIn, please tag me and share your thoughts on this video and the entire series which I am doing now, getting started with PySpark and so on. This will motivate me to make more videos, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Meet you in the next video.